Welcome back. During the break, we managed to process a lot of aluminium hydroxide. And we have also built an automated system for processing it. We start by dropping all of the raw material into this chest, which will then feed a crucible. Then there is this really handy electric heater that will keep the temperature stable at the selected value. It is not powerful and its efficiency makes me cry, but, for the amount of heat we need, it's perfect. I want to remember you that, to power this thing, we are burning fuel with a 75% efficiency. We use that heat to boil water and feed the steam to a turbine, with only a 66% efficiency. This turbine spins a dynamo that has 68% efficiency. The electricity then passes through some battery boxes and some wires, both with some power dispersion. And finally, we are back to our heater that only has a 50% efficiency. I do not know how a heater has a lower efficiency than anything else. Every lost power should go into heat, but I guess it's for game balancing purposes. The point of all of that is that an electric heater burns 7 times more coal than an ENVA burner for the same amount of heat. However, it is worth doing in this case because we need the ability to fine-tune temperature more than we need heat power. That's because aluminum is really lightweight and the required temperature is close to the crucible maximum. Anyways, we take the aluminum out in ingot form and feed it to an electrolyzer, which then outputs the aluminium to a chest. Also it produces some carbon dioxide, which we are going to void by making it pass through a pipe that can't handle gases. Since we have some carbon dioxide at hand, we are also using some of it for producing a bunch of laser diodes. With these and the help of some other cool-looking machines, we can finally build an electric CO2 laser and thus obtain LU energy. The first thing we are going to do with lasers is power a welding machine. This really handy machine will finally allow us to make machine casing in a more Greggy way. We no longer have to deal with the forge, which doesn't work during rainy days, and then having to hammer down stuff before it cools down too much. Processing bauxite is also giving us 2 main byproducts, rutile and ilmenite. We gather all the compacted dusts we have obtained so far. To process these, we need a burner mixer. We quickly craft an electric one, and we place it where we can easily automate it. We give it all of the dusts we have. Then, after it ate almost all of the chlorine we had stocked up, we realize that an heater mixer is not a burner mixer. So we dismantle it and go craft a bronze burner mixer. And we put it in place. Then, since an electric motor has an efficiency too low, we use one more create IV power to make it spin. However, something is wrong with the axles, so we should just let these contraptions to other mods and pipe the steam to the machine. Now that the mixer is spinning, we can pitch it on fire so that it becomes a burning mixer. And thus we have obtained titanium tetrachloride. Next we bath some magnesium dust inside it to obtain some magnesium chloride, which we will recycle. And, of course, we also get what we were looking for, pure titanium dust. Titanium has a lot of usages. But, for the moment, we are going to alloy it with niobium to obtain niobium titanium. We need this material for making a better crucible which can handle higher temperatures and melt down stuff like pure niobium. And I forgot that we had to chisel the mold with the shape we want to cast. You can guess what happens next. Yeah, we now have a molybdenum crucible, which can reach 3620 Kelvin, 75 too low for melting tungsten. and it appears that the tantalum crucible, which is the in-between, has its recipe disabled. So, there are no tier skippings. Anyways, talking about crucibles, we can now work high temperatures easier, but we have issues with the mounts. Thus we have made a large steel crucible. Its maximum temperature is really low, barely enough for making iron, but the amount of stuff it can contain is huge. You get an idea on how much stuff it carries and how much it mitigates heat by the fact that even our chromium burning box has issues pushing the temperature up. At a certain point, we will even end up adding a second chromium burner. The thermometer on the left is a security measure that I'll show as soon as it triggers. The one on the right shows the actual temperature, and the one on top is for enabling the extraction of molten stuff. Once we reach the security temperature, a piston will shut off the air intake of the burner, shouting it down. The piston then retracts once the temperature lowers. This crucible will have a lot of uses, for example, recycling stuff that couldn't fit a small crucible. But the main reason we need such a big crucible is for making iron. Currently, our main source of it is this loose juice, which was supposed to be a trash fluid. Anyways, now we have to process all the hematite we have stocked up. For the limonite, we are going to use a different process that I may show later on. We have to melt 5 parts of hematite with 1 part of calcite and 1 part of carbon. After quickly gathering the other 2 ingredients, we are ready to load up our big crucible. Once all the ingredients are loaded up, we set the hoppers to input the ingredients with the correct ratio. We are also adding some nickel to the mix to obtain Enva in the same process. And we can pump in some air if we wanted some steel. Finally, we fire it up and set the scale in a way that will keep a good amount of ingredients in the crucible. We must not overfill it or some stuff might not make its way in the crucible, and we also must not let it run empty. After some time, and after some tweaks, we have stocked up quite some resources. Now that we are rich, we can afford to make bigger toys. To help us with that, we are going to need a compressor, and we are powering it with an electric engine this time. The first thing we need a compressor for is dense plates, that we shall use for making some dense boilers and some strong burning boxes. These are still weaker than a chromium one though. We are going to use 3 of these strong boilers to do something that requires a lot of power. While these are heating up, we shall also use our new resources for upgrading our base. We can swap our unused blast furnace with a second coke oven and a good-looking tank. We shall also upgrade our distilled water storage by 20 times. By the way, that is our current water generation setup. We should probably upgrade it soon with some cool gregtech machine. Back to our strong boilers. They have finally reached temperature and are emitting tons of steam. They can power even a titanium turbine, which can now speed up to 200 rotation units per tick. We are going to use this speed for a centrifuging something really special, but that's a story for the next episode. Bye bye.